intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hey Star Trek fans, today we're taking a look at the beautiful lady, 7 of 9, who you can see is now on my crew. Managed to get her to tier 1. Many players out there are actually able to take her higher than I was at tier 1, but I was limited by the amount of materials I had to spend because being the epic, she was obviously available through leaderboards. Now, for those who are curious, by the way, the reason that you had a third SLB and no XSLB for the incursions was because they said that the players would have preferred to keep 7 of 9 and her SLB. So you got a little extra weekend of sourcing between the heroic SMS, which allowed a full unlock if you could max it out, and the leaderboard itself. So in terms of unlocking, it's a more free-to-play way to do it, but it still is an epic, so you're kind of expected to whip out the old moolah. But let's take a look at 7 of 9 as a whole. What does she do well? How to use her. Immediate crew that a lot of people are going to be doing is something like this right here. Chakotay, Janeway, 7 of 9, with B'Elanna Torres below deck. For Armadas, obviously. Now, this is something that is also really difficult for a lot of people to have unless you manage to get all these through the event store or through events. In terms of long-term sourcing, at the moment of making this video, I'm excited to tell you, there's nothing. But the hope is, based on talking with Scopely, adding her into the rare formation Armada sourcing that you see in the artifact gallery. And I'll go ahead and agree with you that no, that's not sufficient, but hopefully that gets an increase. Let's go ahead and talk about 7 of 9. As you can see, I'm going to sort by group, and she's going to be at the very bottom where I have unlocked her. I'm very happy to manage to get tier 1. Took the last weekend to make it happen. Does not have a captain's ability, but does have an officer ability and a below deck ability. The officer ability, being fun, will now commence. Increase your ship's critical hit damage at tier 1 by 80%. We'll look at the full numbers here in just a second. And then finally, the below deck ability, a PvP ability, increases your ship's isolated cascade by 12% against players. So that's going to be a really interesting one that we get to see rolled out. It says isolated cascade multiplies your total damage, including isolated damage, and all research and other bonuses. So taking advantage of any isolated you have and adding a multiplier to it. So let's look at the actual full numbers. How about that, of our lovely lady 7 of 9 here. So if you level her up, see the officer ability right there is going to go from 80, 100, 130, going all the way up to a 200% bonus. This is pretty significant and can result in a lot of damage getting created. As far as the below deck ability, you're getting up to 50%. So this is going to be based on, one, you having isolated damage, as we see right there. Now, for those curious, how do I get isolated damage? There are a couple different ways that you can get ISO, and I figure we go ahead and spend the first portion of this stream kind of laying that out there and kind of covering it for you. So if we back out real quick, we know that Janeway's ability is talking about isolated damage. So increases your ISO against non-player hostiles and armadas. So this is what we use Janeway for when we go against armadas, and then we'll get a little bit of a bonus from her. But if you want to talk about PvP, the best place to look for that is actually going to be in your buildings, the artifact gallery, and we can take a look at which ones apply in PvP. So click the little button, and remember the little eye up here, then you can sort this and see, okay, well, there's O'Brien's dartboard, which is increasing isolated defense against players. And then we have others that are going to, one, lots of isolated defense, but also if you scroll on down, you're going to find others as well. Just lots of different isolytics that have gotten added, mostly with the rare formation armadas. How you've unlocked them or whether you have them to be used, well, it's really dependent on how much you've unlocked in this area of the game. It's a big importance for me. I really try to focus on unlocking these. So you see, like, increasing base damage for takeovers. That one might not have any value, but I do love the specifically the shield and hull boost that I have, as well as a couple of the others. So it really comes down to, have you unlocked the things necessary to boost isolated offense, isolated defense, etc. when you're going against it, like the Narada Tendril, which is increasing isolated damage against players. You see that I have now taken to level 4, and at some point in hopefully the near future, I'll hit artifact 38 and I can take it to 5 and above. So anyway, that's what you would be looking at if you're talking about the below deck ability of 7 of 9. Let's go back to her real quick and talk about the officer ability, because I think that's going to be the one that gets more used. It is a fantastic, in my opinion, perfectly pairing with several different crews, Armada ability. Now this is all armadas, solo armadas, group armadas, formation armadas, Eclipse armadas, if you really wanted to pull her out and use her against Eclipse armadas, and connection issues. Thanks, Scopely. All right, connection issues aside, let's go back and talk about this below deck and this officer ability in a little bit more detail. Again, I think that Armadas are going to be your biggest key here of where you find her valuable. Even at tier 1, it's a pretty significant boost. And let me go ahead and kind of translate what that boost ends up looking like. So as you see here, tier 1, 80% first Armada. So how does that actually apply? We'll back out real quick. We'll go to our ship here. Let's just use the pilot as an example. You see I natively have a 320. Well, take that 320 and now make it 400. That's the amount of bonus I'm getting going against an Armada. And that's pretty valuable. I mean, getting to multiply your damage by a factor of 4, not counting any other bonuses that you may or may not have, can be very, very impactful. How about we go take a look at a log where we did some damage, right? You want to take a look at a log. We love looking at logs around here. Logs are great. Battle logs are huge. It's how we actually determine whether something's good or not. So let's look on the screen. There's Mando up there. Here's me running the same crew that you see on the screen. So if we scroll on down, you're going to find my Pylum doing no criticals early on, but you see the multiple shots have kicked in for Chakotay, and you do some isolytic, not a ton, but a little bit of isolytic there. You can see that isolytic higher than just the 10% of our normal tier 1 Janeway. But as you scroll down, the more shots you get off, especially as it starts to get bigger, you see we put in a lot more damage down onto what is a station that had no chance. Now, besides this just screenshot, let's actually put out some comparisons because I like comparisons. We like data points. Here's the Coronar running multiple crew sets. Now, 2 of these logs are running the crew that you just see, or actually see the top left of your screen. Janeway, Chakotay is captain, and 7 of 9. And then on the opposite side, I'm running another very common crew, Cisco, Miles, and then Lorca for hull breach, whereas in the left studies, we had Lana Torres below deck for hull breach. Now, she could have done that on either side, but simply for the purposes of that, we want to show criticals, big damage, how you can get more out of it. You could have even put 7 of 9 over there with Miles and Cisco and had a pretty nice effect, simply having more mitigation. So in this one, you'll see that just generally we are putting more damage to the hull per round. Now, you will notice that one of these went 1 round, one of these went 3 rounds, and the others went 2, but simply go by the amount of damage that you're putting into the hull per shot. You can definitely see that we're doing more with this one over here on the left side. Potential drawbacks simply would be, do you have enough mitigation? Because the big crew here with the 7-9 crew that you're seeing, not give me any mitigation. I have to rely on like Tom Paris below decks for that, or you could put the Doctor on. But again, now you're asking players to have more and more epics that are hard to source. So in terms of standalone, what she does is simply gives you a lot more powerful shot. And that is what you notice, and what I noticed testing this on Enterprises, Pylums, Coronars, etc. Everywhere from the 30s to the 50s, it's pretty universal that the higher up she gets, the better she gets, and more importantly, the more you can actually add to your punch in Armadas. And with Armadas being such a big thing in the game, solo Armadas, formation Armadas now, regular FKR Armadas, we were doing Cardassian Armadas this morning for testing. You know, there are a lot of Armadas, and I don't think they're going anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're going to continue to do a lot of Armadas. So what that ends up being the case here is, in terms of one of the most powerful officers in the galaxy for Armadas, add her to your list. All because for a long time, we've been building around criticals. Criticals are key. I talk about it all the time because I love critical builds in any game that I'm playing, but it's especially become important in this game. And in Armadas, critical builds are king, which makes her the queen, boosting your critical damage. But that below deck ability can also be useful if you're a PvPer out there, slotting her underneath, going into territory capture battles. She can actually add a little bit more oomph to your battles. But that's it. Basics of 7 of 9, definitely get her. She's great at tier 1. She's even better at higher tiers. And enjoy her if you had her. And we'll continue to work on ways to get better sourcing for these shards. So let me know what you think about 7 of 9 in the comment section down below. Did you run any tests with her? And how impressed were you with this later Armada officer? Because this Armada group that came out with Voyager was really good. Now we just need really better sourcing. Because let me just go ahead and make this quick complaint before we roll up the end of this video. Scopely, real quick. Hey, come here. I love you. I appreciate it. I really do like this game. I really do. Truthfully, I love Star Trek Fleet Command. Not just because of the community. I love that it's a Star Trek game. And I mean, hell, I play it all day, every day. So obviously I love it somewhat. But real quick, look at me up close. This is terrible sourcing. Here, I'm gonna do you a full pull. Big 2. Boom. Woo. Come back again and fail again. No epics and a few shards. And actually, because it's 1 pull per pull, I actually did pretty decent here because I managed to get 5 Tom Paris. But overall, that's not good sourcing. You've got to increase the amount of shards you give away for Voyager crew, especially if you're going to add Neelix and Seb. But anyway, that's the thought for this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Live long and plunder. Stay safe with the Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next one. I love you. I appreciate you. And we're out.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.